All right, hello everyone. Hello everyone. My name is Darryn Mumphery. I'm the current law fellow at PRRAC, and I'll be moderating our panel today on involving voucher families in program design and operations. Today we have some wonderful panelists who are with the Baltimore Regional Housing Partnership and Inclusive Communities Project. We did have four panelists initially, but two of them had emergencies. So if they do come in the midst of our panel, we will accommodate them and welcome them in, but we're gonna go ahead and proceed with the two panelists that we do have. Um, Shamita and Yvonne, I'm gonna ask if you all can introduce yourselves and then we can proceed with the Q&A. Shamita, why don't you go first and then Yvonne.
Definitely. Hello, everyone. My name is Shamita Lawrence. I am the Mobility Assistance Program Director here at Inclusive Communities Project in Dallas, Texas. And I have been with ICP for 8 years on the ground, working with voucher families, helping them find housing in well-resourced areas. And I'm glad to be here.
Hello, my name is Yvonne Redmond, and I am a tenant with BRHP Housing.
All right, and we can jump right into the Q&A. I want to start with Shamita. Can you please explain to everyone what Voices of Opportunity and Voices of Vision are at ICP and what these programs seek to accomplish?
Yeah, definitely. So, Voices for Opportunity is a training program to help voucher families and the people who support voucher families to engage in public discussion around affordable housing. ICP had several meetings throughout the Metroplex where we spoke about various topics and we invited guest speakers in to help stakeholders organize and advocate for more affordable rental units in their area. VFO attendees went on to speak out in traditional media. They spoke out on social media and also at city council hearings and AFFH meetings as well. And so, building on the success from the Voices for Opportunity program, ICP created a post-move forum called Voices of Vision. And what these were discussions between mobility counselors and clients that have moved to well-resourced areas. Basically, they were in-person, geographically specific roundtables where clients and counselors discussed anything that was pertinent to their post-move process. They, in a safe environment, COVID safe, because we did transition in 2020 to a virtual platform. So in a safe environment, physically safe and emotionally safe, we ask questions and encourage participants to kind of tell their stories about what their post-move process looked like and what their connection in their communities look like. We also, part of the mission for the Voices of Vision was to allow clients to network with each other, share resources. And then my favorite part of the VOV sessions were they really encouraged each other and empowered each other. And that was a tremendous thing to be able to witness.
Thank you so much. And I see Renita has joined us. This is one of our panelists who is having a slight emergency. So Renita, if you could just introduce yourself and introduce the Client Advisory Board at BRHP.
Absolutely. Thank you. Sometimes unexpected things happen. I'm so happy I was able to join. So yes, my name is Renita Dorsey, and I work with Baltimore Regional Housing Partnership. And my role with Baltimore Regional, I'm currently a program training specialist and servicing the families under the Client Advisory Board role with Ms. Yvonne Redmond, who is also one of our Client Advisory Board members. So I will turn it back to you, Darryn.
All right, thank you so much. And so, because we are talking about client involvement and ways that we can optimize that in program design, can you all, you, Shamita and Renita, tell me, client involvement obviously begins with client engagement. How did you all, for these various programs, reach out to clients, engage their interest in being involved in these programs?
So I can go first and share my experience with that. At ICP, we have a post-move process where we continue to try to engage the client once they've moved. And a part of that process is a post-move assessment. So we'll call and basically have a one-on-one chat with the client, just asking questions about how their connection to the community is and how things are going. In that post-move assessment, we specifically ask clients if they would be interested in some type of post-move forum, some type of grouping or gathering, and any type of advocacy work. We just flat out asked if that's something that they will be interested in. And we also looked at the other questions that we had on the assessment to inform us on how we needed to focus the sessions and what we needed to highlight in the sessions.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Renita, how did you all go about reaching out to people for the client advisory board?
So our client advisory board is actually a group of 12 participants who share a common passion for advocacy, learning, and sharing feedback to expand the quality of services at BRHP. So ultimately, we really just wanted to spread the word that our client advisory board is available for clients who do share that passion for advocacy and learning. So what we did was we wanted to put out a interest gauger, to say. So nonetheless, we put in an email blast so that clients could respond and let us know if they were interested in joining the client advisory board. So we asked questions to know if they would be available for meetings, if they would what topics would they be interested in, what would they like to talk about. So those were ways that we were able to try and determine if they were interested, as well as see exactly what topics that they were passionate about.
All right. And Yvonne, as a client who's involved, how did you feel about the outreach? Do you feel that it was effective? I know you have a little bit of a background in engaging anyway. Can you tell us a little bit of your background before you got involved with the client advisory board and how you felt about their attempts at outreach?
Well, my background is I'm a lifetime student. I love to learn, and human engagement, just advocating for a better ways for low income communities to thrive is important to me because I was one of those people. I grew up in Baltimore City in West Baltimore. And through my studies, I've learned as being a community health worker, and I have a BA in criminal justice with human services concentration. I am also certified in mental health training for adults and youth, and so much more. And I do this because family members, communities, and just people abroad are suffering. And my idea was I wouldn't want people to have the same problems and issues of negative environmental influences for themselves or their children. So I want to make a difference, and I want to be there to be that voice for those that are in the program now and those to come.
All right. Thank you so much. And what was your main motivating factor for getting involved in the client advisory board after the outreach had been done? What really motivated you to do
Myself,
it?
knowing my experiences and not knowing that there were resources out there to help me, I want everybody to get the good news. Those that qualify, those that can get resources to qualify, because some of us just want a chance. There's a stigma of, over the years, people have been stigmatized of voucher holders, tearing up people's property, being disrespectful, and all kinds of things. There are those like me that just want a chance. And give me that chance, and I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to pull my sisters and brothers with me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Renita and Shamita, when you all were designing the program, after you had found out, okay, this is something that clients are interested in, what extent did you involve clients in that design process in designing the programs that already exist for your organizations? I've talked to you guys for the Mobility Works publications, so I know your answers on this might differ a little bit, but give me some insight into that process.
I'll start. Our design process was really informed by those post-move assessments that I spoke about earlier. And it was really a simple process. We, as far as the Voices of Vision is concerned, we kind of look to the Kellogg's Truth and Racial Healing and Transformation healing circles. When we initially started the in-person sessions, we incorporated the healing circles. And so our design was really kind of based on that previous, or in part, I would say. And then basically the assessments, the information that we got when we talked to clients about getting involved in advocacy work.
Awesome, awesome. Renita?
I would definitely say that when it comes to our client population, just like Ms. Redmond expressed, her natural desire to want to be a part of the client advisory board. A lot of that design process, our clients are motivated to want to be a part of it. So when it comes to, just trying to figure out topics of interest, our clients aren't shy to express some of the things that they are interested in. So knowing their interests, that helps us to shape what those conversations are that we should have. It helps to shape what things as an agency that we should focus on when it comes to providing best services for our clients, by allowing them the opportunity to use their voice and say what things will work best for them. So really, it's about their feedback. And when they provided that feedback on those surveys to say that they were interested in things like home ownership, that they were interested in, in conflict resolution and expanding BRHP services, those types of things help us to develop the main topics that we want to talk about in these conversations. So they really played a major role in that formation of topic development for what topics we definitely need to cover.
Awesome. And this question is probably more for you and Shamita to Renita. Did you all follow any existing models outside of the influences that you've already talked about? Was there any organization who had a program that incorporated clients aggressively that you guys looked to, or did you all just really look to your communities and your clients' needs for inspiration?
I think mostly for ICP, we mostly looked for our clients as inspiration, and basically the feedback that we received from them on those assessments. And like Renita was saying, the feedback we received when we started the sessions, we continued to receive feedback from clients. And so we were able to, the development was ever evolving. Because we always want to make it better and better. So if they were asking for specific resources, or saying, when we were listening to the conversation between clients, and they were saying, oh, we can't find this here or that here, or then we decide, okay, well, in the next session, we're going to bring on a guest speaker to talk about this particular thing. So it was ever evolving. Like I alluded to before, we did kind of take a page out of the book of the the healing circles, but we made it our own, and that was just a small part of it. But those are some of the influences that help shape the program.
All right, and this question can be answered by any one of you. Within these programs, how are issues of focus decided, and how often do those issues change, given the nature of each of the programs?
I would say for BRHP, our issues of focus, they pretty much go hand in hand with what's going on currently with the organization. So we like to incorporate pretty much what's happening now within the organization to drive those conversations. So for example, as we were developing our 2022 administrative plan, we looked to our client advisory board to receive feedback from them on some of the proposed changes. So that was helpful in us making certain decisions regarding how we want to move forward with certain changes. Also, different things that our program is connected with different partnerships. We've had Johns Hopkins come in for a meeting virtually and let us know about the work they're doing with us with the asthma study. So clients were able to be informed about that work and to learn more about how the program actually has beneficial health outcomes that have been researched. So that's helpful for our families to know that. And also it helps them to also become better advocates for the program because they have this wealth of knowledge of more behind the scenes things that the program is connected with. And it helps them to spread the word to landlords and other entities to let them know about the work we do.
I have a question from the Q&A for Shamira. What kinds of advocacy have your members been involved with? What local issues?
That's a great question. So just recently in the spring, we were doing a lot of advocacy around the legislative session. And so we had some of our voucher families participate in a video about anti-voucher discrimination. So that's one major thing that we're pretty proud of. But we've had clients speak on the local news about rental units that are coming online that they think would be helpful in their, or possibly coming online that they think would be helpful in their neighborhood. We've had them write to, state and local politicians about, issues that affect them. So in a myriad of different ways.
And we have another question from the Q&A. In the past, there hasn't been a lot of tenant organizing of housing choice voucher tenants because they don't obviously all live in the same building or neighborhood. Do you think it's possible to organize voucher tenants more broadly? And if so, how? Any of you can give your thoughts on this.
I can give my thought, Yvonne. Virtually. It's the new thing, everybody. And that's what's good about this because diversity is what it's all about. Being able to say, okay, I'm having this issue, and someone else way across the state can say, well, I'm having that issue too. Well, can we communicate with one another? Can we get together and have a meeting and discuss this? We've talked about changing policies, home ownership programs, tenants' rights, and people with mental health challenges, how they interact, and how the landlords are stigmatized. I mean, all of this is big and is very much needed. And I think and I wish that more programs would allow their participants to participate and let them know the needs of those that are participating in their organization.
Awesome answer. Awesome answer. Did anyone else want to offer some thoughts?
Yes. The virtual piece is 100% true because this client advisory board, we literally launched this in the pandemic. So our first meetings we were doing virtually. So this, was birthed out of the pandemic, and all of our meetings have been virtual with the clients, and they actually like the convenience of being able to attend the meetings so that it's no issue with, childcare or issues with, I get off work late. It works out for a lot of clients because of the virtual platform. So right on, Ms. Redmond, virtual.
And that brings me to another question I had since we're talking about innovation. Client advisory boards, I think, are a wonderful idea, as well as the environment that Voices for Vision creates. In constructing those, looking back, do you guys have any constructive criticism for your own organizations, or Yvonne, from a client perspective? is there anything up until this point that you would have done differently to kind of bring the client organization relationship closer together in the development of the program?
For me, within reason, what works. The issue that I have, and the issue is that I am going to have, is more. So there is no, I mean, maybe that should be the next thing, that we have some type of guide, or, I mean, there has always been, for me, a gap between community and corporate. So what looks good on paper does not always work smoothly and consistently in practice. So if we put those two together, that's a big impact from both levels.
I'll chime in on this one as well. I think for me, I would point to two things. I think we did a lot of things really well. One thing that I feel that we weren't very confident about Zoom when we started. So we did our conference call, and we just kind of kept it going through a conference call. And while it was really great, and I think Zoom would have been so much more of a better option. We would have been able to have more, I guess, I don't know, relation. We would have been able to relate a little bit more, just being able to see each other. So that was one thing, just a technical thing, and that's something that we'll implement going forward. The other thing is in the development process, I do, as I was thinking through this, I do wish that we would have maybe had like a client advisory board or something like that to, help with the actual development process. We did completely take in what they said via the assessments, but to hear that more up-to-date assessment of what they thought would be good to build for clients. The whole point of this is to lift clients' voices, so we should have started by that, I think. And we did in some ways, but I think we could have done better. You can always do better. So
awesome. In your meetings, have clients had like suggestions for improvements to the housing choice voucher program, how it is administered?
I feel like expansion is one of the things that a lot of our clients speak to. Looking at how can we pretty much do more in regards to the services that we can render to clients. But when it comes to, administering the voucher, of course, it would be wonderful if we could provide more vouchers to families. So the fact that our wait list is currently closed, that cuts off the opportunity for several thousand families, to be honest. And so, just to be able to have that opportunity at some point to be able to serve more families, I feel that is something that, a lot of our clients would love for us to be able to do with our program.
And Yvonne, do you feel like since your involvement in the Client Advisory Board, you've been empowered to advocate further beyond BRHP?
You asked me that question? Of course. I got my bootstraps on, man. It's just COVID has put us in a space that we really haven't had before. Instead of the craziness of everybody all abroad and all out of whack, we have to be closer together. We have to learn from each other more. We grow stronger by being together. And that's what it's all about. And it's all about accountability. We can talk all day, but it's all about, have we moved forward? Have we made change with what those things that we discussed it? Also, sustainability. We get together and we talk about some things and then we go back to our own disbursement. We need to stay close together. And advocacy. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be able to speak out for not only myself, but my other peers, participants in the program, and for those to come. Everybody, please take into consideration this type of collaboration as for to know what's going on at ground level. Thank you.
Yes, and speaking about advocacy, do you or Renita and Shamira, have you guys observed a change in the lived experiences of clients since you started these programs? What's that impact on like that everyday level?
My change, my individual change, and being able to talk to people when we have meetings, from being in a state of depression and not knowing what my future would look like, and to have had, I came into the program with my granddaughter. She was 5 and now she's 16, and just to see the encouragement, just to be able to encourage one another and to say, I've been through the same thing. How can we help one another? And we can talk to a BRHP. And one thing that is sincere is when we have a concern, we discuss it, and change is uncomfortable, but it happens. It may not happen right away, but it happens. And that's important.
Shamita, I know Tiffany couldn't join us, but has Tiffany talked to you about the way the program has impacted her life? Do other clients speak to you about that?
Most definitely. And that's one of the favorite parts of my job, is to get to hear that feedback from clients. And Tiffany's one that's very vocal about it. She is not here to tell her story, but she would have, told you all she has 9 kids, and several of those are by adoption. And so she looks for every resource she can. She's a single mom, and she looks for every resource she can to provide for her children. And she's doing such an amazing job. And she speaks to the advocacy programs and the different programs that ICP has as a help to her in that. We have had other clients that have in the past been, scared to speak out, just to speak to their landlord about an issue. And now they're speaking out and writing letters, about, broader issues. They're, getting in front of a camera or speaking to a reporter, or making social media posts and jumping on the videos that we have. So I've definitely seen how the program impacts clients, and it's impacted me as well, because I think I wondered. I know our clients are great. They've always been great, but I did when Demetria, who this is her brainchild, and she, everyone knows Demetria McCain and knows how amazing she is and how innovative she is with programs. And when she brought it to us, and I was just kind of like, I don't know if, clients will participate, if they'll want to speak out. And then we get clients very similar to Ms. Redmond who are like, where have y'all been all this time? Like,
That's right.
I'm so happy to be doing this. And so it is, it's impacted many lives, including mine.
Yes, and I just wanted to just share a quick feedback as well in regards to the way that the board has impacted our clients. We've had clients share their experiences through virtual meet and greets with Senator Cardin, Congressman Kwesi Mfume, and Howard County Executive Calvin Ball. And our clients have felt completely confident and comfortable sharing their stories. One client who was on our client advisory board, she had informed me that she was having issues with mobility in her county. And so she told me that she ended up contacting the governor's office to get the issue resolved, and it worked out for her. And all I could say to her was, wow, that is awesome. And I was just giving her all the praises, like that's amazing, that you advocated for yourself in that manner and you were able to get the results you were looking for. So I definitely believe that having this client advisory board does give clients that extra boost of confidence.
Awesome. And because we're seeing through you guys' story how important it is that client advisory boards and programs like them exist, um, is there anything you all would say that local and state governments can do to empower these programs for housing voucher holders?
Funding. Funding. That's what we need, funding. We need funding for so many things. We could do funding for new schools. We could do funding for agriculture and clear water. And we just need to change for the better on as many levels as possible. So if the sponsors and whoever else is in charge would just know how important this is, funding is very important.
Yes, I completely agree with Ms. Redmond. Funding, first and foremost, oftentimes I think that is oftentimes a lot of reasons why things don't go through the full process. It could start off as a conversation, but then it doesn't completely, take legs and walk. But another piece I would say is important as well is to inform clients and let them know. So keeping them in the loop and making them aware that these types of opportunities exist, sending a couple emails, maybe even having specific staff members assigned to make those calls and make it a little more personal to say, hey, we have this type of client advisory board. Would this be something you're interested in? And also, as staff members come in contact with clients on their daily basis, you can get a feel for some clients who express, that they have that spirit of advocacy and, a desire to learn and really want to give feedback and input. And you can propose to some of those clients, would this be something that you're interested in? So I think that it works really well when the communication is also there as well.
Awesome. We do have another question from the Q&A. Gretchen Weissman would like to know, what do you all think about creating a forum for mobility participants from different mobility programs across the country to communicate with each other?
I love that idea.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
I love
Awesome.
that idea. It speaks to what Ms. Redmond was talking about earlier, as far as like in the general Baltimore area, there may be different people in different parts of the areas, or the area that may have similar issues. The same thing goes nationwide. Yeah, I definitely love that idea, because they can share resources and shape those resources to work in their particular location.
We can get together and have a conference or a march for life, for thriving, something big. Yes.
100% agree with that. And as long as clients are being informed and it's publicized, I definitely believe there would be a lot of client interest in something like that as well.
Okay, great. Since we're speaking of all the possibilities that could come from these types of networks, when you all were creating these programs, organizing people with housing vouchers, as we said, can be a little more difficult than organizing people who live on the same block or in the same building. If you were giving any counsel to someone who was trying to develop a program and engage clients, what would you say your biggest challenge was in organizing housing choice voucher holders?
I would say we wanted to really have a group who was pretty representative for the areas where our clients reside. So just trying to really make sure that we have a clear type of, I guess, level of diversity within our client population. So we wanted to really just make sure that we had representation as much as possible from all the counties that we serve. Here in Baltimore for our program, we were able to get interest from clients who live in Baltimore County, Howard County, Hartford County. So those are some of the areas where our families reside who are actually on the client advisory board. But we have, with our program client population, the majority are female single-headed households. We would have loved to get more interest from our male participants, but it didn't work out that way. So I would say, you know, just having a way to have a diverse group within the board that you decide to create is important, so you can get that feedback. And we also looked at how long some of our participants have been on the program. So we have clients who've been on the program for 3 years, beyond 12 years, as well as a program graduate. So a client who actually is no longer on the program, and she is now moved on from the program and has her own business and working, and, you know, is paying her rent on her own. So that gives another type of voice to the program as well, and the client advisory board. And it serves really as inspiration to show our families, you know, you can still pursue all your goals and your dreams, even while you are a participant with our program.
I would agree. I think diversity was a struggle for us, and also just being spread out. We were at the time serving Dallas County and the 6 counties touching Dallas County, so that's a wide area. But what we decided to do is to make them city specific. So we started very small, and we understood that we wouldn't get a whole, host of people to join the calls, but we were very happy with what we did get in each city. And that allowed us to have those intimate conversations and really robust conversations without people stepping over each other and talking over each other. And then what we were able to do from that is, talk to the people so that when the people experienced the Voice of the Vision calls, they enjoyed it. And we said, okay, next time we have one, invite a friend, invite someone. And so then we did a regional convening and had everyone from all over jump on a call. And so to me, that's how you can build capacity, is just start small and be okay with starting small, and make it geographically specific if if that suits your mission, and then go from there.
Wonderful. I asked you guys about your challenges. I would love to hear about what was an unexpected triumph that you encountered in the development of these programs as well. We've had conversations about how great it is to bring clients into this project, because obviously there is power in collectivism and cooperation, and empowering other people to advocate for themselves. But besides the, conceivable triumphs, what was something that kind of caught you off guard, a benefit or a boost to your organization that came from these client involved programs?
I would say the opportunity to have our clients speak truly from their experiences during a lot of those meet and greet opportunities, and their ability to really feel so comfortable with doing so. I feel that was a really big surprise, especially under such, circumstances of everything being virtual and the clients not really having a chance to meet in person. And the fact that being virtual, it didn't stop their ability to still want to be engaged, and their ability to still want to connect and be involved. So I think that was a really awesome thing to see. In addition to that, I would definitely say the client's willingness to want to really just learn more. So with conversations that we have, it wouldn't just stop at the meeting. We would get sometimes follow-up emails and say, hey, can we get more information in regards to, what we discussed today? I want to learn a little more about that. And so I feel like that's another win, because as they learn more, they're sharing this information. And we all know that knowledge is power. So the more that they are giving others this information, it can help, especially within their communities. They can tell other voucher holders in their communities, hey, if you don't think, your landlord situation is right, you have rights as a tenant and you can exercise those rights. So our client advisory board members, they go back into their communities and share this information. So I do feel like the sharing of information is a really major benefit.
And I would agree. When you first asked the question, I was, kind of thinking, like what was something that was surprising? I think we were very hopeful for the outcomes of the Voices of Vision call. So, and we had big dreams as far as the outcomes. So, I think we met those. I didn't have a lot of surprising elements, but one thing that really did excite me is that in one of our first sessions, the clients themselves were like, we wanted networking. Let me say this. We wanted them to network, but we didn't expect that they would start a phone tree. And that's exactly what they did. They were just like, wait, before we get off, and we were trying to, be very careful about being good stewards of their time. And so, we said a specific amount of time. And so we would be really careful about that. But they were like, no, wait, before we get off, we need to all exchange numbers. And they just took the opportunity to exchange numbers and basically set up a phone tree to, help each other out because they were all, in the same city. And so they, and they were like, we're not gonna, have to, look for resources. We have each other now. And so that was really exciting to me. It was an exciting outcome.
All right. By the way, for the audience, Yvonne did have to step away, but we're very thankful for her contribution. She's very enthusiastic and dedicated to advocacy and looking out for other clients. She's an amazing, amazing advocate, and we're so thankful she could come today. I have a question kind of about the administrative side of having client involved programs. As far as capacity, how much manpower, how many hours, is there a lot of scheduling involved? Can you guys tell me what type of capacity does an organization have to develop this program? Do you think it's something that's feasible for an organization of any size?
I do. I'll jump in and say that I do. ICP, we have a small staff, and we were able to accomplish it, especially like Miss Redmond said, with the blessing of virtual. That makes things a lot easier. But even when we were doing things in person, it's definitely doable. We basically had 2 people facilitating and managing each of the programs, and then we would have help as needed. But really and truly, it can be done with a couple of people. That a couple of dedicated staff members, if it came down to it. So I think it's definitely doable at any size, and if you implement it correctly, eventually the clients are going to be the ones that are really helping in taking some of that organization and some of that leadership. They're going to be taking on some of those roles as well.
I would agree. I do believe that this lift with BRHP, the lift that we took to get this off the ground, it required a team. It required a team of us to really delegate tasks to one another and say, hey, can you be responsible for the outreach part, for constant contact emails that go out to families, and make sure that they know we want to spread the word. Making sure that the website, that we have the link so participants can fill out client advisory board interest forms through our website. Making sure that we had someone to make calls to clients. And like Shamira said, having the actual clients make those calls. That was one of the things that we were able to take off of our plate. To have the clients give those reminder calls and say, hey, don't forget, we have a meeting on Wednesday. And so that also helped for the clients to feel more connected to their other peers that were on the group. And that's also a way to relieve a task from some of the employees as well. So it definitely does take a team, but I do believe it can be done, especially if that team is driven to make it happen.
All right, we do have another question from Q&A. Thank you both. Kristen Haas said, what do you see as the pros or cons of having a group that brings together families who have moved to well-resourced areas and families who haven't moved yet versus having separate groups depending on where families are in the process?
So one pro I would say by having them together versus separate is one of the questions that we asked our clients was, why did you move where you moved to? And all of them were in well-resourced areas. And I can just imagine that if there was someone who was considering moving to a well-resourced area, how that would benefit, them hearing the answer to those questions. Because it was always like, it gave my kids better schools, better resources. We feel safer out here. It's quiet. So for a client who's considering to make that jump, which can be a very scary jump for clients, right? They, haven't been, one of the previous panelists was talking about, they haven't been out to the suburbs yet, or it seems so far from where they are. And to hear someone who's actually taken that leap, and to hear the benefits that they're experiencing and their children are experiencing, I think that would be an amazing pro. Yeah, so I'm going to stick on the positive side. I can't really think of a con right now. I'm sure there are, but I would push to do those calls together.
And I definitely see the pros with that opportunity. So those families who are in those resource-rich areas, can explain to clients, especially the processes that they may have experienced directly, and to serve as a motivator for the other family, especially if they may have any hesitation to moving outside of their familiar communities. Those clients who have already transitioned to those communities, that can be a pro. Now, if I did have to think of a con, only thing that comes to my mind is if you were to mix the groups, you would just want to be sure that the families who are not in those resource-rich communities, that they do have the opportunity to make this move with the voucher to those opportunity areas, so that it wouldn't feel so much like somebody's able to share all these awesome, amazing experiences, and then someone else who may feel that, the opportunity isn't going to present itself for them to reach, such great heights with living in a great community. That may not, be a great feeling for someone. But so as long as that opportunity is there for those families who are not in that resource-rich community, that the opportunity for them to get there is actually something that's going to happen for them, then definitely I do see the benefit in having both groups.
All right, thank you both. We have Adria Crutchfield on the line with us, and she's going to speak briefly. And after she speaks, I will transition us into our next portion of the conference. So Adria, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Darryn. It's been great listening to you, Shamira and Renita and Ms. Redmond this afternoon. I don't have much more to add. I was a last minute addition to this panel, but I did want to take a moment to mention that Mobility Works, which is formalized as a 501c3 and which I chair the board, is totally committed to actually furthering this concept that we're discussing here of lifting up the voices of voucher holder participants who are dispersed throughout the country. And we do believe that those voices should be at the table in conversation with HUD officials on a regular basis, similar to how public housing residents actually are organized, and not just organized, but also resources are given towards the organizing, right? And so we are hopeful that we are able, with y'all's help, to make that a reality. So I did just want to mention that. And I really thank my colleague Renita for covering our client advisory board process so well.
All right, Adria, I think we have two questions. Do you mind, have you used social media to connect residents, and what has been successful and what has not?
I saw that question from Anisi. Thank you for that question. I will just say this, as a nonprofit entity, perhaps we have a little more flexibility than what a traditional PHA may have, but I would encourage all housing providers to be using social media as a platform for communications, for more communications that we are pushing out. Not necessarily as a channel for two-way dialogue, because obviously you want to preserve the privacy. And we often, if we ever do get client inquiries through our social media platforms, we address them in a private manner and take those offline. And we also want them flowing through our formal channels, our actual, CRMs and such, so that we're documenting that follow-up and actions that are required from that inquiry properly. But I absolutely, BRHP did not have a presence on social media until just fairly recently when I joined the organization. And I do believe that those are underutilized oftentimes, as well as email. You'd be surprised to hear sometimes how many PHAs actually don't have up-to-date emails or emails for all of their clients that are served. And we find that our families, I'm sorry about that, our families very much want to stay in touch with us via email, not just phone. And we're also exploring text options for communication as well. So I totally believe we all have been forced through this pandemic to embrace technology to a new level, and we should continue that push.
All right, and very quickly, Anisi also asked, do you have any best practices for addressing root shock that can result from relocation? This is more in reference to folks moving from public housing development with vouchers.
I personally think Renita probably could speak to that even better than I could, so I might ask you to chime in too, Renita. I believe that the counseling that happens within mobility programs totally can help to ease that transition process. I do think that there's a lot of opportunity in terms of jurisdictions actually doing more to combat. Again, this is discrimination that is happening. It's racial discrimination, it's economic discrimination, and I often find that there is a need for jurisdictional entities that oversee more human rights related work to play a more proactive role in engaging neighbors across the spectrum. There's a lot of, as you all know, NIMBYism that we confront in these programs. And I encourage us all to be thinking about and again, utilizing our clients for their recommendations around how to combat that. I do, though, often feel that we don't have enough resources at our disposal to actually push back against some of the discrimination that our families, or not even discrimination, but it might just come across as harassment that our families face. But Renita, what else might you add?
So I would definitely say that, if families do transition to their new communities, I do think the workshops that we hold, they do prepare families from the search process. We are letting families know all about their rights. We're letting them know about how to file housing discrimination complaint forms online. We're letting families know what to look out for when they're working with landlords. We're letting families know, all about the territory that they're going to face when it comes to searching in different communities, what the housing stock realistically looks like for a 2-bedroom family with a voucher versus a family with a 4-bedroom voucher. So our families are given that education so that they can make a smooth transition into those communities oftentimes. But there are always, those situations, unfortunately, where families may feel, a little hesitant from going into new communities where people don't look like them. But we do explain to clients that oftentimes with that transition, we are here to support you. And I think that's the biggest piece. Letting clients know that they have the agency to support them during this transition is really major.
All right, thank you all so much for your contributions. We are out of time, but I want to once again thank you, our amazing panelists, Renita, Shamira. Thank you, Adria, for your insight and information. We are so appreciative of your perspectives. Definitely appreciative for the perspective of Yvonne. So thank you, Renita, for connecting us with her. It takes so much collaboration to make these programs successful. So I hope everyone is leaving this panel having learned something new about developing programming for clients. And we will now take a short break, which will be followed by closing remarks. Thank you everyone for tuning into this panel.